And first up, let's get you the latest as far as the data leak scandal is concerned. Just hours ago, Facebook CEO Mark Zukerberg has issued a detailed statement breaking his 5-day-long silence on this particular issue. In the statement, Mark Zukerberg has apologized, admitting that yes, they've made a mistake and confirming that there was a breach of trust with Cambridge Analytica, the firm that's been accused of that data breach and leak. Now, Zuckerberg in his statement has also listed out steps that Facebook will now take up to ensure that this kind of leak doesn't take place. They've said that they will leave it to the user to give permission for how much data can be accessed by apps. Also, there will be a restriction on the kind of data that developers will also be allowed to access. So this is the damage control that Facebook has now initiated, but still questions arise on what about the data that's already been given out. Will there be some sort of action taken on that front is still a question mark. But this is the first statement that's coming from Mark Zuckerberg, where he has admitted that yes, we've made a mistake. He's also admitted that there was clearly a breach of trust between Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. And even at this time, there's been no mention as far as whether he will testify or not, because keep in mind, that's been one of the top demands so far from Democrats, from Democratic senators as well in the United States. After the scandal has hit Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, you've got Zuckerberg apologizing, admitting that yes, they made a mistake, and saying that we will ensure that here on nothing, no leak as such takes place. In fact, 3 steps have been announced that all apps with data access will be investigated. Zuckerberg has also highlighted that there are some apps which have a lot more data access than others, so there will be a lot more probing into that. Another step that he said they will take is that developers' data access will be restricted further. There will be certain procedures that will be put in place now by Facebook. The third step that Facebook will be taking is to ensure that users also will be able to give permission as far as access to apps to their data is concerned. So users will be given the right to decide on how much data apps can access. So this will be a new feature that Facebook will announce. Clearly, they're in damage control now and will ensure that now steps are taken. There are still questions being asked of Facebook as to what about the data that's already been breached? What about the data that's already been leaked? And also keep in mind, Zuckerberg so far has been silent on whether he will testify, because that is a growing demand now, considering world over this scandal has created ripples here in India as well, even as users' data has completely been compromised. After 5 long days, you've got Mark Zuckerberg finally issuing this detailed statement where he's apologized to all users of Facebook and said very clearly, here on we will ensure that we take appropriate steps and that they will restrict the kind of data that's accessible to apps, to developers as well. There will be fresh restrictions put in place. And let's go across to Suesha Sawant. She's joining us live from our Mumbai newsroom for more details on this. Suesha, first of all, it's a very detailed statement that Mark Zuckerberg has put out. Not just has he spoken out about the scandal, but he's also spoken out the kind of steps, the damage control that Facebook will now initiate. Give us details of what Zuckerberg has said in his statement.
Absolutely, Akshita, this is a huge admission coming in from the Facebook chief as far as the data leak by Cambridge Analytica is concerned, and he's clearly mentioned that there has been a major breach of trust. In fact, we've also put out on our screens this post of Mark Zuckerberg, which came in just 6 hours back, and where he stated some very important points and taken responsibility for the fact that since we all sign in on Facebook with a certain level of trust, Mark Zuckerberg is responsible, Facebook is responsible for the fact that our data should not get leaked, and any or every developer or any entity like a Cambridge Analytica should not be able to access our data so easily, for which now they're going to put in place certain measures so that these kind of incidents don't happen in the future. Also, let me take you through the important pointers of this post. Now, he's mentioned that although important steps need to be taken to address this issue, they had launched this Facebook platform in 2007 with the vision that more apps should be social, and they are very much responsible for the security of our apps. Now, they have said that to prevent abusive apps, in 2014, they had announced several changes on the platform that could dramatically limit the data apps that we access. However, they have learned from the media platform of how there has been a major breach of trust by somebody like a Cambridge Analytica, and which is why now important steps will be put in place to ensure that they can restrict developers' data access. They will ensure that they ask the developers to sign a contract in order so that not anybody and everybody can access the data of our posts that we put in, which is our private data. And even if a developer wants to have access to our pictures or our personal information that we put out on social media, it should not be that easy. Also, if we do not use an app for about 3 months, we as consumers don't use an app for about 3 months, then they will automatically restrict the developer to access any of our information. So you see, now Facebook is bringing in these kind of measures to ensure that there is no data leak. But what has happened, Akshita, and it is important to ensure that the likes of a Cambridge Analytica, who can so easily steal our data and just take it away and use it to their benefit to influence such big happenings like something like the elections, etc., should not be done in the future. And of course, that's a huge admission, like we said, coming in from the Facebook chief, Mark Zukerberg, who has now said that they are going to work very seriously towards ensuring that measures are put into place so that whatever personal information, whatever personal data we put on our social media platforms and on something like Facebook can be protected. Akshita.
All right, Suresh, getting us the highlights of that particular statement that Mark Zuckerberg has put out, admitting that yes, we've made mistakes, and also announcing a slew of measures to ensure that users' data is protected here on. Suresh, thanks for joining us with those inputs.